Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wednesday Night Live. We've got Coach Dub, Mr. Kelson, and our special guest for this evening, Mr. Justin Wells. Justin, you are, I believe, along with Homer, on roughly 17 to 18 hours of content every week here inside Texas. I feel like we're seeing your face all the time, and I appreciate you taking the time to be here for this. So there is a lot to talk about. Generally, what we've noticed at this time of year is we certainly move over to the recruiting aspect of things, but there has just been so much going on. And when you start to look at the sentiment of the message board, which is at InsideTexas.com, and by the way, not a rubric I would ever use for how things are really going, but man, are folks just jumping off the cliff about how Texas and maybe even Sark have just lost their touch. So I'm really happy that I've got you and Charlie here, people that have been following this game for a very, very long time. And when I mean game, I mean the recruiting game. Let's talk about this. So one of the questions that was asked, and I really just love to hear from you and Coach here for a second, but there's been a lot of changes. I understand that this is your business. You have to be measured in maybe this response. But what's going on, man? What in your experience? What is this period of time like, especially for someone that's covering it, and especially for someone like you and Coach who build real relationships with these people? I mean, you're definitely. I mean, I've noticed you're talking to parents of recruits that have long since finished their college career. So you build relationships with these people. So what is different? How has this changed?
We're covering a pro team now. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It feels like we're getting up in the leagues a little bit. I mean, free agency is essentially the portal. Recruiting is just like it is in the NFL. There's just more there's more seats in the stands in college than there are in the NFL. And so it feels like a pro team now. And I say that kidding and a lot. And my man Matthew is coming through. I miss you, brother. It's changed. And Coach and I we were talking about this a little bit before the show. It's changed so much in just like the last 3 years. I mean, we had kind of a shift in the 2010s. I called it like the Twitter era, when everything recruiting went to social media, but it really went to Twitter. And once that happened, and we used to break offers, now it's damn near a sin to do that. So now the kids do, and there's a process to all of it. But then it changed with NIL, and that kept all the money above table. And we knew at some point there was still going to be a little bit of money snuck under the table because people want to win. But it's changed. I think I see more kids really prepared for college football these days. These early enrollees are hyper-focused, self-driven individuals that have done everything in their path to put themselves in a great position. And I love that Sark hugs those guys. 25 signees last year, 21, 22 were on campus early. Like, I think that's huge. It's just the other side. You got to find those 22, 23, 24 guys, 25 guys each class that fit like they do, like Sark has been able to find. But you're doing it with a lot of distractions, with a lot of information, and with a lot of new and budding opportunities that people just like Drew never had, never even dreamt of. And you're trying to cram it all within, it feels like a regular season. Like last year, I was telling Charlie, last season felt like an entire NFL year. And it was. They essentially played an NFL season. And so I think it just goes and goes. It's nonstop, and that's why we love it, and that's why we cover it. But it's even different in the last few years. I think you've just got to really pay attention. I think Sark, the way his manner of recruiting parents as much as he recruits players is ginormous for success, because the only way you're going to find success in all this chaos is when you've got a team of veterans that have been there, that are kind of fighting for each other, that have been through the wars together. Drew had mentioned it in a chat earlier this week, guys that that they'll rely on each other. They'll depend on each other. If Texas has a big season in 2025, it's not a foregone conclusion that all the superstars are going to leave and go early. And so I think Sark has cultivated this thing that is so special, and it's so unique because of the era we're in right now. It's almost the most demand you could have. And Sark he's got the temperament for it, but I got to tell you, recruiting fans, summers are hell under Sark the last couple of years. My July 4th, it's dreadful. And Charlie's got more horror stories than I do.
Well, Charlie's been canvassing the Dallas Metroplex, spent July 4th driving to 2 different commitments. And again, this goes back to that thing that Justin was just highlighting. It's different for the players. When I first started working with you guys at Inside Texas, Drew and I did a video on his recruitment, and he's getting VHS tapes, blank ones, sent to him in a manila folder, asking him to basically copy his materials over and send it over to Notre Dame. This is a big school. And that's the way things were being done. But one of the things that we talked about here, Coach, was this idea of the player that profiles to Texas. And I think Justin hit the nail on the head. The commitment has to be holistic now. We are recruiting the families. We are recruiting the parents. And you mentioned specifically the Turntine family about how they were approaching this. And maybe that is a good example, a good modern current events example, for lack of a better expression, of the player that profiles to Texas under Sark. I wonder if you can expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And it kind of been touching what Justin was just saying. It used to be every high school had a recruiting coordinator who would help kids get recruited. Now every kid has an agent, a legit agent or a street agent that's helping them manage recruitment. And so you got to kind of, as a coach or a coaching staff, you got to navigate that. What's real and what's not, right? Because some kids reporting fake offers. You got a ton of things that's going on. You never know what's real. And so I think it's important to get to know the family. And that's what Coach Sark has done, especially specifically the Turntines. They were super involved. And sometimes some parents are involved, but they're not. They kind of let whoever's handling their kid handle the recruitment. It's which is weird to me, because if it's my child, I want to know everything every step of the way. And I think it's important what kind of kid you're getting when you recruit the entire family. His makeup, his background, his foundation. When times get tough, and they do,
yes.
Where does this kid come from? What is he about? How was he raised? Because essentially nobody can save you on a 4th and 1 versus USC in the national championship, right, Drew? Nobody can save you, but your foundation, everything you're built on can, and where you come from, your toughness, mental toughness, and all of that when your back's against the wall. So it's important to recruit the family, because you need to know how that kid was raised and what his mental makeup is.
Drew, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. As a player that went through the recruiting, and now you're kind of sitting back, have you become the old man that waves his fist at the clouds for all of this, or how are you approaching it?
I was the old man who raised his fist at the clouds, but I realized that just was not it wasn't a healthy way for me to go through this. I enjoy football. I appreciate watching these kids develop and grow up and everything. So getting pissed off at the amount of money they make is not a really healthy way to carry it. But, I welcome it. There is a disruption right now. I think the one thing I'm not concerned about when it comes to Texas is that there's just some key things. And if you hear Sark do any interview, Texas is still Texas. If they really are going to crack down on having legitimate NIL opportunities at some point, whether it's now or later or whenever, you want to be in Austin, Texas. That's a place you need to be. Texas still has that advantage. Texas still has the brand advantage, has the following. There's still so many things that's tied to the brand and to Texas, and still Sark is still not changed the way he's recruiting and evaluating. So that's the thing that stands out to me right now in this environment more than anything. It's, if it really comes down to money, no one ever questions Texas money. No one does. No one does. So then why are these guys going to the places? Because there's some other things there that Texas is not willing to pay for. And so I really trust the market dynamics that are underway and that are taking place right now. If you have a player that is 5 schools are willing to pay him $350,000, but you have one who's willing to pay him $8, that is not good, man. That's not good for that player because your market value is going to drive. It's not good for the school or the player. The school is going to come out of pocket for something that the market's saying is not no, it's not equitable.
Yes.
So you're just rolling the dice on something. And so it's just it's crazy. And then the player is going to get way more, or going to associate that value with their value, when really the market still thinks you have a year to sit before you actually contribute to a team. So you're starting to see. I'm going to love watching this, because all these big bets, everyone loves to talk numbers, everyone loves to talk structure. There's legality. I mean, there's all these different elements to it. But I right now, I'm still dialed into and appreciating how Sark is approaching this, how the team is approaching this. We got championships to chase this year. We can't chase kids who the market wants to chase. Everyone else is chasing getting in position to do and be where Texas is right now. Texas already has the roster and continue to build on that. So there's no place we'd rather be. There's no position we'd rather be in than where we are right now. And we'll let the market, tell us what we need to go get.
Kenny Dillingham said it best to kind of summarize with Drew. He said, this class was not – he goes, I don't care. He was quoted at the Big 12 Media Days a couple of days ago. He said, I don't care if I have the worst ranked class in the country. It's about retention. He goes, we had a great team last year, and if we didn't bring those guys back, it would have been a complete change, a complete do-over. And he's like, retention was the number one thing. And even Sark has mentioned retention. You nailed it, Drew. I love that. That was brilliant, because that's the fact. People are spending what they're spending to get in the position Texas has been in the last 2 years. Right. And let me tell you, when these recruits come in, they'll come in that big building, when they're all 20, 25 of them will come in at once with their parents. And Sark tells every single one of them at one point or another, if you're here for the money, you're at the wrong place. And I know that sounds weird and odd coming from a place that makes so much money and generates so much revenue and everything. But it's back to that core belief. They've got to fight for each other. They got to love each other. Money cannot get in the middle of it. Right. And so far, he's navigated it. I mean, the way I think you could. I don't know if anybody else could have done it.
I know a person that can do that, and that's David McClellan.
I'm just going to say, guys, you probably need a fiduciary financial advisor, and I've got the guy for you. His name is David McClellan with Forum Financial. He works broadly and deeply with his clients as a financial life coach, and he should know something about coaching because he won several national championships as a swimmer for the University of Texas. He specializes in financial planning and has contributed numerous articles to Kipling on the topic of retirement tax bombs. So contact David today to be your fiduciary financial planner and schedule a 1-hour consultation to assess your financial situations. The free consultation is available, so just give him a call. The number is 312-933-8823. That's 312-933-8823. His email is also in the description below.
Guys, I want to go back to Dillingham here, because this is a guy that has become very, very candid. And I think, his ascension into the national spotlight, certainly last year with his ASU team, has helped with that. But he is saying the quiet parts out loud. and the thing that I really appreciate that is this quote. It's a little bit long, so bear with me. Quote, most places are so win now, and most coaches aren't at a place they want to stay at. Either you're at the top and it's win now, or as long as you can, or for as long as you can. And you're at a place where it's win now and you can leave and get out. And he's talking about this front loading. So the idea here is, people are front loading. And basically what that means, for this new terminology that's constantly coming out, front loading is essentially what happened before July 1st. So people were putting in their money and essentially paying these kids, July 1st being the date when the House rules kind of went into effect. And then August 1st is when people can actually sign these revenue sharing contracts. So what teams are doing, not to name any names, Texas Tech, but they are basically throwing money in advance of July 1st. So then they can use that revenue share as a completely blank slate going into August 1st with these new deals. And what Dillingham is talking about is really relevant here. And this goes back to exactly what Drew was talking about. You are going to have kids that have made a ton of money that were front loaded on this. And then when all that dust settles, they may have to make less in their second year, or even maybe their third year. That's generally not going to sit well with anybody, any employee. So the question is what is the retention of these players? Can we keep these players if we're giving them all this money during 1 year, and then the next year, because of these rules, we may have to lower what we're expected to pay them? So as we go through this is a constantly shifting foundation with everything. And as what seemed to be the big takeaway from the Big 12 media days is people don't know the rules. They just don't know what they're meant to be doing or what they're not meant to be doing. Now, again,
they know the rules.
That's the messaging.
Doing this.
Well, this is the thing. And I want to go into this, Justin, because you're exactly right. The company line is here is we don't know what to expect. The truth of the matter is they don't know what's going to be enforced.
Exactly.
They know the rules.
Exactly.
They just don't know what they're going to get away with.
Exactly.
Yep.
And there's no precedent yet.
There's no precedent.
So rip the cover off and let her eat.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're doing. And you know what? That's a method. That's a way to go about it. But you know what's funny? I'm thinking about, I'm listening to all you guys and I'm thinking about this, and it's like, I'm thinking about this roster right now in Austin. And I want to say it was built strategically because it was, but I'm also going to tell you, Sark got really lucky. And I'm going to tell you why. Because Trevor Gooseby was a bargain steal. Okay. Yeah. There was nobody in that class that had that upside. And yet they got him for next to nothing. And he sat for a year and was obviously backup as his next year. And now he's renegotiated because he understands his position and how important he is.
Pay that man his money.
Anthony Hill was a bargain for what he produced on the field. If he would have been in 2 years later, we're talking about $1.2, $1.3, $1.4 million a year type of 5-star linebacker. What other 5-star linebackers on Texas target board are asking for?
Sure.
They got him. And so I think, and then you have Arch. You have the guy that brings it all together, who's taking barely a cut, just the bare minimum, because he understands he's getting so many. They see the bigger picture better than any family I think I've ever met. Like, they are bigger picture, period. So in some ways, Sark was strategic about this. And I think CDC and the guys saw this ahead a year or two before it kind of really came to fruition. But think about just this group. They're lucky. Texas has had a lot of luck. Michael Taft turned into an All-American from a walk-on.
Yeah.
You got to understand, like, a lot of things had to happen. Really, the only big spending Texas did to get to this stage was Colin Simmons. That was really the biggest one. And that was going to cost. He was an elite pass rusher, and rarely he proved it, which in most cases, kids that freshmen can't do that early. Right. We saw DJ make an impact. What's that?
Then we got him for 2 more years.
Exactly. And so I think Sark has done this strategically, but I also think there's been a good little bout of luck because you've got some really unselfish kids. All those guys I mentioned are actually incredibly unselfish. If you ever talk to them, get to know them, it's almost a sweet dynamic. They really care about each other. They are really looking out for each other. And that's why they put so much into 2025. So how you navigate this thing in recruiting and with retention, like you're talking about, like Dillingham's talking about, I think you got to have some luck. And I think you got to have a big dose of it. And I think that's kind of where Texas is today.
That's a good point.
Well, with that, I want to just briefly touch on, we've got 3 players that are kind of just now we're putting a little bit of emphasis on, and this is based on some of the stuff that you guys have put out on the board. But I want to talk about Carlton a little bit, Atkinson, and Cooper. Now, we don't need to go into depth here, but we are in the middle of the recruiting season, so I think it'd be good to hit on these. So, Coach, tell me a little bit about, we just talked about Colin Simmons. We've got Ethan Burke in the fold. Edge looks pretty good, certainly this year. And as you pointed out, DK, we've got a couple years of Simmons. So talk to me a little bit about a player like Carlton, where he fits, why this might be a good get for Texas.
I mean, first of all, you look at Carlton's frame, man. I think he's going to grow into this big, gigantic. It may be another type of Ethan Burke type of guy, but maybe more athleticism, right? I mean, you look at his frame, you can add about 40 pounds of muscle to this kid, keep his athleticism. If you ever seen him play basketball, he can get up and down the court and go dunk the ball and do it all. So you take that and let him rush out and get out to the quarterback. I think you got an absolute stud. Just a no-nonsense type of kid. He's really quiet, but lets everything out, all his frustrations out on the field. He's one of those kids. Won't say much to you, but you see him on the field, it's like, man, where did this kid come from? It's like, is it Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde? Like, that's him totally. And so a kid who just wants to come in and learn. He's looking for somebody to latch onto, right? You look at somebody like Coach Loudon Clark, he can look up to him. That kid will run through a wall for him. He's that type of kid. That's the type of kid that you want. He's looking for that father figure, that mentor. And once he gets it, he's going to do everything that person tells him to do. And I think you're going to get an absolute stud on the field.
And it would be opposite Richard Wesley, who outside of Diabell is the biggest get in the class of 2026.
Yeah.
You've got your strong side defensive end. You'd have your weak side.
So let's talk a little bit about Atkinson here, Justin. Give us a little bit of a profile for those who have maybe not heard that day coming in at a linebacker.
Yeah, that's 5-star linebacker. That's a 5-star linebacker out of Georgia. I actually watched him play last year for Grayson. I was watching Nick Brooks, the backup left tackle for the Horns right now, and I was watching. And Tyler Atkinson was just making plays. He's a tracks and smacks type of linebacker. He's about 6'2", 200, 205 pounds. He's going to have to get bigger. He's going to have to get stronger. But he has such an aggressive tendency. He plays with violence. He's very dialed in, and I love his intensity. I say all that because this is an NIL recruitment. Like this is one that, and I think him and his family have handled it really well. They're not going out like trying to gather all these offers. They've had all those talks with the schools. This is going to come down to the development point because he's going to get paid no matter what. I don't know if he's the best linebacker. He might be number one. I think there's a couple others that are just as good. But Texas and Georgia, that's what it's going to come down to. And ultimately, this is a kid that could make a decision soon, could be later in the summer, could be even into the season. With an NIL recruitment, it could happen at any time. You don't even have to have an OV, like a Derek Cooper, the running back out of Florida. He hasn't even taken an official visit to Texas. He already canceled his announcement, so he can visit Texas in the fall to make sure he makes that decision. With Atkinson, it would be the second time in a row that Sark has gone into Georgia and took the best player from Kirby Smart after doing it with Justice Terry last year. To me, I feel like that's just life in the SEC. Welcome to the jungle.
Drew, I want to talk a little bit, transitioning over to that running back that Justin was just talking about, Derek Cooper. He's a kid out of Miami. There's, look, the thing that I like, and I want you to specifically talk about this mentality of linebackers, because he also has considered maybe playing both ways in college. What is it about running backs and linebackers? Because Drew, I want to get your mindset on this because. When I was in high school, I went to high school with a kid named Rocky Kalmus. Same thing, right? He was a really great running back in high school.
Crazy.
Our names line up in the graduation charts. We sat next to each other a lot. But the deal is like, running back and linebacker, what is it that makes those two just mentally copacetic?
It's the same position.
Amen.
Right. You essentially have to read the line of scrimmage and hit your targets. But you also have to be the hammer and not the nail. So playing linebacker, the best thing, it's funny, I recently found and uploaded, I have a digital copy of my high school highlight tape.
Watch it every Friday.
Every Friday, just like it's like I'm back in high school. But I just got it. But what's so funny is, and this is me looking back at myself playing both sides in high school, I didn't care it didn't matter what side of the ball I was on. When the ball was in the air, it was my ball, offense or defense. When I hit the line of scrimmage, offense or defense, I wanted to take somebody's head off. It didn't matter if I had the ball in my hand. It did not matter if I was on defense. And I just think a lot of linebackers, especially if you have the speed and the physicality to play and just that explosiveness, that intent to just get after something, nothing's going to get in your way. How is it any different? We've seen incredibly talented running backs with like speed and all this other, fancy stuff. But when it just comes to someone who can move, someone who embraces and seeks out being physical, and that's based off what you see in front of you at the line of scrimmage. It's fun playing both ways in that space.
Do you know who he just described? Trey Wisner. That's how
every play.
That's how Trey Wisner was. That's how he played defense in high school. That's exactly how he played. That's how he tackled. Trey was a dog, a junkyard mutt dog.
It's just there's only one
Pissed
way.
in the neighbor's yard, ate out of a can of Alpo, and brought it on Friday. Trey Wisner hit you harder running the ball than he did when he tackled you.
Yep.
And at some reason, it translated to the next level.
It does.
It's great.
It's the one position on the field. Like defensive line, everybody's, you're 6 inches helmets away from each other. It's contact, it's explosive, it's violent, but every DB and every safety, they don't always get down into being physical. If you are a running back, if you are a linebacker, I know they're motioning guys out and doing all this other stuff, but you're hitting somebody with a head start. Like there's a collision happening both sides of the line of scrimmage. You're usually coming into contact with someone 5 yards away from you. You have to want that.
Yeah.
You just gotta want it. Like that's just, man, it's something. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, lucky for these kids, they don't get to see the old I formation when you got to take the fullback on every play or pulling guard, like wrong shoulder in every single play. Yeah,
You'd have to do that for like 50, 60 reps a game.
Exactly.
You gotta want that.
Maybe you guys want a new kitchen or bath.
This video is brought to you by Luxe Kitchen and Bath. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook, and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring to life that dream vision of your special home. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team provides full remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today. Or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get a free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's LUXE. Or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Link in the description.
Oh, yes, sir. Justin Wells, sir.
James Cole Fowler. I'm sorry. I want to just real quick on this, and Drew's already got it. But if you ask Anthony Hill Jr., he'll tell you he was born a linebacker. He'll tell you he was born and raised a linebacker. If you don't know, his dad played linebacker at Emporia State. So he was born and raised a linebacker. You ask his dad said that kid could have played running back. He played running back all through high school. 6'3", 225, coming downhill. He was the essence of the hammer. Yeah. Won a state championship doing it, and that's why I think he's one of the baddest linebackers in the nation in 2025.
Drew, don't take this question personally, but has there ever been a better backer room in team history?
So it's definitely not personal.
We were 04 would give them a run for their money.
We were a mash unit for a minute, but yeah, no, we this group is different, man. The versatility is off the charts. The ability to just attack in different ways. Now, the linebacking crew who came up after me. So I remember myself, Rashad Bobineau, who will tell you today, like him getting recruited by Texas today is a completely different dream, right? My boy A. Harris, Scott Derry, Robert Killebrew. These are all guys who we were playing, right? Then we see these freshmen being recruited who, I mean, Roderick McElroy was just a tank. I mean, just room, just didn't lift. I mean, just a big kid. You had Jarek Norton. I don't know if
Garnett Smith.
Yeah.
You had and then Sergio Kendall comes in.
Eric
and
Foreman.
we're looking over our shoulder like, we only got so many more reps at linebacker because they're bringing in some real bodies, dude. Like they're bringing in some real bodies. Keenan Robinson was a young dude, young wiry dude. And so anytime I compare just times of linebacker crews, I think we had a great, efficient crew. We didn't have too many injuries. I mean, Aaron Harris played every down, every play for, as long as during our championship season for sure. So we were part of a special group, but there was definitely some talented guys that have come up right after me that were just different.
Where do you land on this, Coach? Because this is going to be an interesting topic moving forward. Because obviously we're moving Trey off the line; he's going to play off ball. Where would you put him in this group? He's listed right now with the linebackers.
Right. Honestly, look, I know he's going to get a lot of looks and a lot of snaps at linebacker. And you go back and watch last year's film, he played a ton of linebacker. You got to go some key games, and he played linebacker in a lot of tough situations versus some big opponents. But to me, man, he's just that wild card guy. I know everybody looks at his size, say he can't play edge in the NFL. I mean, there have been smaller guys play edge in the NFL before, but I mean, he's a guy you can line up everywhere, right? On third down, let him get out to the quarterback. First and second down, you can blitz him from depth, so he can still play an off-the-ball linebacker. But I don't know. I think he's going to be one of those guys you kind of move around instead of like the traditional linebacker like Anthony Hill.
He's also a self-made kid. Never had any stars, never had any offers. So he's viewing this season as like, I got a chip on my shoulder. Like he is viewing this season like I've still got something to prove, even though he's been overlooked year after year and now he's accomplished what he had. That's Trey's mentality. I like that because he is a self-made man.
You remember last year, people forget when the season first started, we're playing these non-conference games and we're like, what happened to this Trey Moore guy we kept hearing so much stuff about? When we weren't playing an SEC schedule, everyone was asking questions. Yeah. When we really got into the meat of the season and really having to go head to head every single down, every single game, Trey was balling.
Yeah.
I mean, Trey was balling. I don't think people realize like when the competition leveled up, Trey was right there in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go over to Splendid Daddy, formerly Sugar Daddy. The SI article called Charlie Strong hire among the worst this century. Do y'all think that's too much? I remember it being pretty bad. Sports Illustrated is now converted to BuzzFeed lists, apparently. I didn't realize that this was an official article. I don't know. Gosh, worst hire this century?
Like in all of college sports?
I mean, I don't know. This is a pretty broad term here.
That's rough.
That is rough. I don't know if I can. I like Charlie Strong. I don't know if I could.
We know a lot about the Charlie Strong era. Okay,
that's true.
I'll say this: those players to this day still love Charlie Strong.
Oh yeah,
the guys that he recruited, that he coached, that he got close to, those guys that still run through a wall for Charlie Strong. And if you put a better infrastructure and you give him more support, he probably wins more and probably sticks around a little bit longer. I don't know how long, but I mean, on the opposite side, you can't go weeks without working on special teams at the college level. You can't do that in high school, much less college. And when Mike Perrin found that out, I think it was right after the third missed extra point in Stillwater, that those days were done.
Yeah. That's the worst of the century. They're pretty rough.
There's some bad hires up there, and bad financial hires out there. Like, are we talking ROI? Like, what are we talking?
That's a fair point. We haven't even got it.
Like Ron Zook didn't work out.
No. I want to throw
Urban Meyer didn't work. West Jacksonville.
So who do we think will have the most impact as a true off-ball linebacker? And we're taking Ant Hill off the table here.
Anthony Smith.
Oh, that was my guess. What about Spence? What about our Arkansas? I mean,
Spence is big. Spence is actually a big kid. He is thick. That's what I noticed about him. I remember when we were playing Arkansas last year, or they were. Yeah, he was big. I don't know where Spence is going to fit. I think he's going to be depth. I think you have to have depth to go through these long seasons. Yeah. I think that's kind of where he's going to be, because Leona is going to be, pairing up with – Leona's the other badass, and he's going to be pairing up with Anthony. But Anthony's your off-ball guy. That's your twitchy, freaky athlete. Yeah. He put on 15 pounds of muscle. Anthony Smith, it was so hard to keep him off the field last year. That's how well Hill and Leona played. They're not going to be able to keep them off the field this year. They're going to have to. And they've got different packages for those guys, and it kind of coordinates with what Drew was saying. Like, they can just do so much different stuff now. PK is kind of a mad scientist with these kids.
Well, I think you have to be, right. I mean, it's just
to get the most out of them. You have to. And plus, they like the depth. They will purposely only play you 20, 25 reps a game if you're on the D-line because they want to keep you fresh in the fourth quarter. So they're going to stack guys at positions. That's why they went 4 or 5 deep at D-line in the portal. Yeah. They understand they have to run 3 in, 3 out. You're talking about line shifts like it's hockey.
Yeah.
And that's the way you get into a playoff for the third consecutive year and make it to the Final Four for the third consecutive year. That depth.
Where do you land on that one, Drew?
I like to see linebackers in their second year of experience. So I got to go with LaFau here. Anthill obviously is off the table and going to his third year. But when you think about another offseason, another season, understanding the depth, like last year, he was just trying to be a role player. Like, and then he ended up playing a lot and balling, right?
He started.
He ended up starting. I think what happens, though, is you still have that mentality of I'm playing the role. I'm not sure. But I think this year, him coming back, he's the guy I think is gonna take a huge step, but also a guy I think will value moving forward because he'll be that senior that will need to provide some stability in that room moving forward.
Most instinctual linebacker on the roster.
So even for future development and having a leader in that room, I think this is going to be a huge year for him and really for the future of that room.
I want to talk about this a little bit because this goes to a bigger issue and one that we've been talking about all day, and certainly there's been several articles at Inside Texas about that. And when we're talking about, I want to get to this question, obviously, but talking about Inside Texas, go ahead and join us, guys. Just head over there. We're running a special right now. Please join us. It is $1. You're going to go till August 30th. That's right into the season. It's going to get you through fall camp. You're going to have everything you need to know about that. And the other thing I want to talk about really quickly, because we're about to talk about the most talented team in the history of PK, I want to go to our friend Paul's book over here. This is the 2025 2025 Longhorn football prospectus, Thinking Texas Football. This is my signal every year that it's go time. Get this thing, send a copy over to my dad, make sure that he is completely up to date on what's going on. So please go ahead and check that out. Now let's go to this question, because this is the sentiment, right? You talk about Sark. That's one thing. He was at those Alabama teams. Talk about PK. He was over at Washington for a very long time. Is this the most talented group of players that he's had at his disposal as a defensive coordinator? I think one of my favorite things about this particular coaching staff has been watching the ascension of PK in the eyes of the Texas fans. Obviously, he's been a great defensive coordinator for a very long time. But man, did we have some times in there where people were asking who this PK guy was and why he was coaching Texas kids. And now, he's, at least in the last few years, consistently put out one of the top defenses in the country. Going into this season, may have a top 3, if not top 1 or 2. Is this his most talented roster? Where do you land on that, Coach?
I'm gonna stay on paper. Yes, right. And some of the things you mentioned earlier, or you guys mentioned, they rotate so many guys. So many guys have so much experience playing. It's not like it was in the past. You ride the bench and then you got in on special teams and then you got thrown out there the next year. A lot of these young guys played early. They have experience. They know what it's like. You got Jelani McDonald. We saw what he can do. We saw Anthony Smith. You got the defensive linemen from the portal, but they were able to play wherever they were at, and they looked good, right? Alex January played late last year in some key moments versus Ohio State. We know what Colin Simmons is. We know what Anthony Hill is, right? We know what Malik Muhammad is and what Michael Taff is at the quarterback. So you have so many guys that played a ton of snaps already. If you combine what you saw last year on the field and then what you expected, what you see on paper, I think you can call them maybe one of the most talented defenses he's had. But they got to go out there and prove it. I've always been one of those guys like, hey, I see it. I know what you did last year, but you still got to go out and be what you say you are on the field when the season starts. So on paper, yes, but they got to live up to it.
What are your thoughts on this, Justin? This is kind of this is the sentiment, right? And maybe it is. I don't think it is, but maybe it is the fact that Texas fans, the loyalists and the people that have followed recruiting for a very long time, are taking some solace in some of these public losses that we've had in the last week or two with some high-profile players. We're saying, well, it's okay because we've got a great team right now. And, I do think that there's a fair bit of that is true. Maybe some of it is just some self-healing as well. But where do you land on this? Do you think this is one of PK's most talented rosters?
There's no question it's one of them, but everywhere outside the defensive line is better. Everywhere. But I can't forget Byron Murphy and the Devondre Sweats and the Coburns and the guys that kind of were in the trenches only a few years ago that kept a lot of this stuff together on those defenses that I think PK did a tremendous job with. But outside of the D-line, I think there's more talent there than he's ever had. It's ridiculous at edge. It's ridiculous at the edge
But let's
position.
talk about it. I mean, we're losing a Thorpe Award winner, and you are,
and you're and that's never fun. But you're also that Thorpe Award winner also played 3 positions.
That's a fair point.
His value was I mean, you couldn't put into words how much he was needed. But I like Manny Muhammad on one side. I think he's ready to take the next step to kind of be that guy. He has every intangible you could ask for from an island cornerback. He just has to do it. And then you've got Jalen Gilbo, who actually is getting an easier job than he had last year. And he actually played star a lot better than I thought he would. That's one of the most complex positions in all of football. And Jalen was pretty good at it. Now he's going to go back to cat coverage, which I think he excels at. Kobe Black is chomping at the bit at 6'3", and with more bend and twitch than Ryan Watts ever had. I like these guys. And they've got some guys on the come up. Wardell Mack. I'm telling you, some about these South Louisiana kids. Derek Williams. They are mean. They play with a certain intensity. They talk to you with a certain vibe. And I'm just telling you, outside of the D-line, that I think everywhere else is probably the best PK's ever had collectively. At one time, you might grab one guy here or another, but collectively, I can't vouch for the D-line because we've been blessed to watch Alfred Collins, grow into that guy, and Sweat and all those guys grow into those guys. But on the other outer positions, oh man, it'd be hard to find a team better.
We are grateful that you have taken the time to spend with us. Thank you so much for being here. Do check us out at InsideTexas.com. You'll see all of these fine people contributing there. Thank you, everybody. Have a safe Wednesday. Hug your kids. And remember, the left lane is for passing.